Hey there, Toonami faithful, and welcome back aboard Toonami Absolution, where we talk about the shows that made us us and made you you. Once again, we are your hosts. My name is Alex.
I'm Sam.
And I'm John. Yes, two more episodes of Cowboy Bebop, Ballad of Fallen Angels, and Sympathy for the Devil. We have to start by picking up something we mentioned last episode, and that is the previous set of Bebop episodes on Adult Swim aired on September 10th, 2001. Obviously, September 11th, attacks happened, and this caused a massive shakeup in the Adult Swim scheduling. Originally, Ballad of Fallen Angels was meant to air on September 16th. However, for press from the time, I found a quote, Cowboy Bebop will be eliminated from Cartoon Network's Adult Swim effective September 16th. In its place, Cartoon Network will air repeated episodes of The Bob Clampett Show and Toonheads from that night's 9 p.m. slot. No reason was given for Cowboy Bebop's removal, though the timing of the announcement suggests it may be because of the recent terrorist attacks in Washington, D.C. and New York. Furthermore, it's unknown if this is temporary or if Cowboy Bebop is permanently gone from the schedule. However, that didn't actually fully happen. So eventually, Cowboy Bebop came back on September 24th, again with the two episodes. However, while it showed Ballad of Fallen Angels, Sympathy for the Devil was cut out. The reasons for that, obviously, are that one of the big points of that episode is a plane crash with the hyperspace bypass is what gives Wen his powers. You see a plane hit a building. Wen comes out of a fire near some corpses. Basically, they thought it was too near the knuckle, so Sympathy for the Devil didn't air until December 16th.
Wow.
Instead, it was replaced by Heavy Metal Queen, which, we'll be feeling the effects of this going forward, and this is why these two episodes on their Adult Swim broadcast were censored. There's a couple of points of censorship. So in Ballad of Fallen Angels, the porno magazine the kids get, that is topless in Japan. It was censored in the US. To be fair, that probably would have been censored anyway.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell like what it was going to look like before the change. But in Sympathy for the Devil, the scene of Wen getting hit in the forehead had a bullet flash as a discretion shot. You don't see the impact. The bullet head, the mark in his head is removed. He just falls down with no wound. And the beginning of the dream with Spike, they cut around a lot of his lower half, which again was probably going to be done before. But again, we don't know what that original episode was going to look like before the change. But yeah, you see a lot less of Spike's lower half during his surgery.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's a lot.
Oh, this for more than it's you get why they did it. It feels a bit like an overreaction now, but what I said, at some point we'll probably do an episode on how Toonami reacted, because they just pulled a lot of stuff from schedules. They went from basically, we don't want to risk it. Anything with violence, some Dragon Ball episodes are pulled.
Yeah.
I mean, even on most networks, they were just pulling anything that had mentions of anything of planes in distress. Explosions were banned for quite a while. Heck, UK radio banned a load of songs for several months because they mentioned crashes.
I mean, I'm a New Yorker. I was 10 years old when everything went down on 9/11. Like if you were here specifically, it still makes sense. Like it makes a lot of sense considering what people were going through. Like in my case, like my school was closed for 2 weeks, and like a third of the people in my school lost at least one parent. Like that was the reality of the time. So it makes sense why a lot of networks were making these choices.
Oh yeah. And yeah, with always these things with broadcasts, it's always the mantra is it's better to be overzealous and not get complaints than it is to deal with complaints. Because obviously complaints get you fined, and if you get enough of them, you get taken off air. So it's just always be cautious.
Yeah. It was a it was a very fragile time for everything.
Man, transitioning from 9/11 into talking about the episodes themselves is kind of awkward, so let's smooth the transition.
Oh, with that said, we get Vicious.
Yeah, our first Vicious episode. So yeah, the thing to remember with Bebop is they had the Vicious episode written at the start. So they already knew where this was going, and then they added the other episodes in as they went. So you'll see a lot more foreshadowing this episode that obviously builds up to the ending of Bebop.
I genuinely, like, this is probably in my top 3 Bebop episodes, specifically Ballad of Fallen Angels. Everything about this episode is pitch perfect. It's also the thing that the live action ruined the most of.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It is because I feel like not even for an animated series, as an episode of television, Ballad of Fallen Angels is just stone cold perfect from top to bottom. Like every it feels like watching a Stanley Kubrick movie. Every shot is so perfectly framed and so used correctly. Also, anything that throws Ave Maria at me, I'm in for Ave Maria.
Oh yeah, no, there's so many good moments in this episode. Just obviously one of my favorites is how they do the Jet and Spike interaction at the start. Like the idea when Spike just says to Jet, "Well, how did you lose your arm?"
Yeah.
It's such a perfect character moment because it's so childish. It is like he's kind of regressing for a moment because he's so upset and he's not sure what he's doing. So he just goes for he wants someone else to hurt, so he's gonna deliberately poke that hole he knows is there. It says so much about these guys' characters. It says so much about how Spike is that he knows this and is gonna push it. It's so nicely done. And oh, that shot with Faye when they pan around to the corpse.
Oh my God, that shot is so good. It's so good. It's my favorite shot in the whole episode because you feel the slow building dread and then it doesn't jump scare you. It's just there as Ave Maria is in the background and it's so damn good.
And what I really like, actually, and one thing they do really well, is they have kept Faye in this interesting position where you could believe she was going to die in that episode. Because how they keep sort of hinting at her leaving and that flagging up that, oh, she isn't protected anymore. So it does, when you first watch this, there is a lot of tension in this episode because you could easily believe that Faye is going to die here.
Well, and even in the wider context of the show, this is only Faye's third episode. We don't know if she's going to be, how, if you're watching this for the first time, you don't know how long she's going to be around. I was struck by a couple things rewatching this episode. One, I forgot how bloody it was. I
Yeah.
forgot, like with the throat slit sequence and everything. It was just like, oh, that's right. Okay. All right. Yeah, that happens. The other thing is it really, I think on a abstract level, it kind of, they mimic the pacing and staging of this particular episode for Cowboy Bebop, the movie. The idea that Faye's kidnapped, the idea that there's this big, serious showdown. Yeah, there's a lot of structural similarities between this and the movie. And yeah, Alex, you're right. This one is the one that gets messed up the most. I remember all the promos for the live action Cowboy Bebop, like had like the stained glass like showdown
Yeah,
and stuff, and I was just like, oh, you don't have to do that.
you don't have to do
You
that.
don't have to do that. But
It
it's great.
And it speaks to one of the biggest issues of a live action thing. The stained glass in Bebop in these episodes is beautiful. How they use the light and the shade in the church is beautiful. In real life, light doesn't work like that.
no.
Stained glass doesn't work like that. So obviously, in a live action, it's never going to look as good because you have to obey the laws of physics.
I I actually do want to talk about the stained glass like really quickly, and it's such a dumb Catholic school thing of me, and I guarantee that they weren't thinking of this, but the kind of stained glass they're in front of is a rose window. Rose windows are specifically for certain transepts of churches. Looking at my art history degree right now, and they often depict one of two things. But the thing that this one is likely depicting is the Day of Judgment. Like that is the one of the most common themes of rose windows, where you have the Christ at the center, and then the writers of the books, and then you build out from there. It's I love that thematically as this whole reckoning sort of thing. I guarantee you they weren't thinking of this.
I mean, it is a judgment of sorts. We see the Red Dragon Syndicate basically get, you know, destroyed or subverted by Vicious. Um, there's a lot of like, I remember watching Cowboy Bebop right around the same time I watched Trigun for the first time. And Vicious and Knives kind of thematically remind me of like the same they're the same archetype essentially. The difference is Bebop weaves in its principal antagonist a lot. Like I was surprised how early in the series this episode came in. I forgot. I was thinking this was like an episode 10 or 12. He does show up again around episode 10 or 12. I just had merged those two stories together and I was like, oh, that's right. He does show up in like episode 5. I'm like, okay, right, here we are. Also, John, to your point about like, Spike kind of lashing out at Jet Black when he gets a little too close to home for Spike's comfort. He also doesn't know how to process Faye caring for him at the end, right?
Yes.
It's the perfect epitome of their relationship too, where it's just like you sing out a key and just
Yeah, that is it's such a great moment, and how they handle it makes perfect sense.
Hmm.
It is this idea that Spike can't be cared for because he can't accept that.
Because it's not Julia.
Yeah,
It'll always, and this is the first time we get the glimpse of Julia. I don't think we catch her name yet. Does he mention it to Vicious? Does he mention Julia to Vicious in their little tete-a-tete?
don't think so.
I don't think so. No.
Vicious is too busy doing his angels cast out from heaven become demons speech.
Yeah.
He's doing. I want to point. I love Vicious because Vicious is an edgy scene kid, and I love that about him.
Just like Knives.
With his parrot thing, his parrot raven.
It's like a crow thing.
But that's what I love about him, because he is this idea that he has put up this shield but brought into his own hype in the same way Spike has, but Spike's issues has made his shield more human. He's not brought into himself as the killer, where Vicious has. Spike is still trying to be human, even when he is struggling.
I would make the argument, going to the Trigun comparison, and this is me just being myself, I would make the argument that Vicious is actually a lot more like Legato than he is like Knives. And
certainly at this stage, right?
Because at this phase of the plot, he's Legato.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's eating people yet. When we talk about Trigun, I'm going to be so excited to talk about the cannibalism in Trigun. But I'm very excited to talk about the not cannibalism in Cowboy Bebop. But yeah, Vicious's energy throughout this episode it's so targeted. It's so much more personal than a lot of anime villains get to feel. And I always appreciated that level of malice out of his corner.
Well, it feels targeted, but we're this early in. That's what makes it feel so targeted, but so good. Like, I think it's hard to explain that we didn't know who Vicious was till this episode, but he comes in and in 4 minutes, they make him they perfectly signpost, this is the biggest threat to Spike's livelihood, and he is dangerous.
Yes, like there's been varying levels of like serious enemies before in the 4 episodes, but not really.
No.
The eco terrorists we were talking. I mean, I kept harping on the chimpanzee virus last week. We're not in chimpanzee virus world. Even with episode 6, we're dealing with like more like the villains have leveled up with starting Vicious. We get the fun, happy episodes after episodes 5 and 6 again, but now it's like once we get to like Perot LeFou, oh boy,
I just have like one more thing about Vicious that I kind of want to point out, because I personally find it very interesting about Vicious is they created him in such a fantastic foil sort of way to Spike, and Vicious also wins this confrontation. And I think that that's the important part, is that Spike doesn't he barely escapes at all, but it's not that he got him on the ropes and ran away or did any anime protagonist nonsense. Spike was going to die. That was going to happen. And that's also probably why I think of him in the same way I think of Legato, because ultimately Legato gets what he wants in his plot in Trigun. But Vicious wins this fight. And this early in the show, that's a big motivator.
Oh yeah, it shakes over everything we know as well. We've had hints that something has happened. This is the first time that has come home to roost, kind of thing. This isn't a sort of man with no name situation where he left the force and he's gone. The past is catching up. I really want to point out one of my favorite things of this episode is that church fight. Because how does Spike, not only does Spike shoot first, he takes the guy who's got Faye hostage right through the head. It's a level of viciousness we haven't seen from Spike before. Even
Right.
when the terrorists are threatening his life, he is still holding them hostage. This is one of the first times he's like, just goes, I'm going to shoot. And that makes his loss to Vicious much more impactful. Because again, it shows Spike could have won that fight, but something about Vicious means he has Spike's number. And it isn't because he's like the traditional shonen, I am stronger than you, I have better powers. Something about that fight threw Spike off enough that he messed up. It's such a lovely tease and an environmental storytelling to tell you that something here is going on.
Also, Spike mentions the dream, which is the dream imagery is something that really shows up. The dream themes really show up in the last handful of episodes. This really, I mean, we've talked about how much Cowboy Bebop foreshadows its big beats all along. This is where we start to see the the direction of that. Now, we say this as people that know where the story's going. I don't think I knew this in like 2001, but like it's interesting seeing how much groundwork they're laying this early on. Because we don't see Vicious again for a while, but these things do pay off, and it is kind of the specter that will hang over the story, because he's Vicious is inevitable, and we'll see that again.
Yeah, it's very well done. Also, this episode features one of my favorite pieces of music, which is Greenbird, when Spike
Yeah,
is falling.
Greenbird.
Such a good deal. It's such a good song. It's one of those songs I feel a bit sad about because it works so beautifully for that scene. It's very hard to watch it without that scene in mind, but it's such a good composition outside of that. It's other things to go, man, this is one, Kano could have released as a solo single and it would have been a classic without Bebop. So I kind of wish it had got that chance to really shine on its own, but it's so perfect here.
I got the joy of seeing this particular episode scored live. And that song was scored live, and Yoko Kanno was there for it, and it was genuinely magical to hear scored live. But to bridge, because we can't spend the whole time talking about Battle of Fallen Angels, we do have to talk about the other episode. Which, my God, the blues in this. It's not just jazz anymore. It's blues, and I love that.
Oh yeah.
The real folk blues. Yeah.
Oh,
So Sympathy for the Devil, we get the little I love the foreshadowing in the beginning of the episode where the guy's like, don't underestimate his appearance or whatever. Yeah, Spike versus the demon child, whatever we're calling this guy.
Versus Tiny Lupin or Tiny Sailor Star Healer.
Yeah.
He has the same.
He's got a Detective Conan energy to him. Like the design of him is very Conan. Much like Detective Conan, who is a child.
Well, he's a child. Well, he's technically an adult because of magical drugs, which we're never going to undo because it makes too much money.
Too much money.
This episode is I think it's actually a really good compliment to Ballad of Fallen Angels. I get people maybe a bit weird on this episode because we go back to a sillier Bebop episode after that, but how it complements the themes. Again, we have this idea. I mean, I think one of the things you see in that last scene is Spike sees a bit of himself in that kid. He is too old. He has been running from it for too long. And I think he kind of sees Jet as Zebra a little bit. It's like, here's all these people I am dragging along with me, and this only ends one way.
I think it's also interesting to note, since we are talking a little bit about the end of the episode, when he throws the harmonica, which is a blues harp, into the air and goes bang. Like there's something about the framing of that and the idea of what that harmonica ultimately represents, I think is very interesting, because this person continued to do this thing for decades, and it was the thing that still made them human because of what the blues really is as a music genre. Like the idea of the blues is that it comes from the place of your soul, and that's what makes it good. And I think that that's really telling, that this person got famous for being a blues musician over and over and over again. There's something interesting about the you're not desecrating this last sign of their humanity, but you're thinking about it.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting, he got the harmonica as the instrument they chose for this is very important as well, because it is that idea of effectively it being a voice. Unlike a guitar you play with your hand, you have to speak through a harmonica effectively. And it's also the instrument of the poor. It's the instrument of the downtrodden because it is something you have in your pocket and carry around with you. Traditionally,
And Spike can't play it.
Yeah, Spike can't play it. Spike can't vocalize his problems. We saw that last episode. So here he's kind of stuck with this thing he can't use. This episode is so silly, but it's also just all of these themes.
So silly. He puts a child in the head.
that but the child was hyper bypass, so it's a little silly. And the child had it coming.
We see the bullet go.
The child had it coming.
Oh, the child, yeah. That ending again. It's also I love the idea of Spike with the jets. Like I have no idea if this will work. By the way,
Yeah,
it definitely shows us again. Spike, who was recently, he's been holding hostages a lot. He's violent, but he's not outright aggressive. So him deciding to take this, I don't know if it'll work. I'm going to drill him straight in the head. Is again a sort of overhang of that last episode. Spike is going a place where probably other people can't follow him.
yeah. I mean, we were talking about Spike's brutality earlier, and this episode captures that side of it too. But this is I always thought this was a really interesting antagonist. I was kind of maybe it's just because I've been watching Sinners a bunch, because I really liked that movie, and Let the Right One In. But like the antagonist in this is almost vampiric in a way. This kind of unaging, using familiars to do their work for them kind of villain. And then Spike takes it out with the magic silver bullet, like the Beast of Dawn or something. I'm mixing metaphors, but yeah, and for me, the most horrific scene is when the boy is smug even after getting shot in the head until he realizes what the bullet's doing to him. There's something kind of horrifying about that, about him, finally seeing his own mortality. Um, yeah, this is for me like one of those episodes where it's a one-off, but the seriousness of it kind of carries into thematically into what we'll see for the back half of the series.
I the one thing just to go back to the idea of the blues itself as a music genre and how it uh works here, especially with that ending where I can't remember the boy old man's name, but when he's saying, "Do you understand?" he's saying it repeatedly to Spike, looking for that understanding. And one of the underlying things in the genre of blues is something called call and response. There's an interaction in that kind of music, and again, Spike can't interact with that. He does not answer. He waits until the character is dead before saying basically no. And I find that thematically to be very, very interesting based on where the blues comes from as a music genre, because it is so deeply tied into such a painful time of American history when you're talking about the origins of blues in the transatlantic slave trade and where it comes from as a part of field dirges and African American music. It works out so interesting in a thematic way here. At least I think so, because I'm a nerd like that.
No, I think you also draw a comparison to how Jet acts in these episodes. Jet is connecting with people in a way Spike never is. We see Jet get a call from someone. We never see someone call to Spike. Even his conversation with Fatty, and I want to come back to Fatty in a second, is they have this shared history. Jet can emote, which is something Spike has to. Spike's like, "Oh, you take him, I'll follow the guy." Spike can't be in that social space well, and because he doesn't. But I also do want to say I love Fatty as a character.
He's great.
It's nice to see some body diversity, even if it is, I do say he is called Fatty, which isn't great, but it does feel like a nickname he's chosen for himself. But what I like about him is that his love of cakes and sweets and stuff shows that you can actually make a living as a bounty hunter. He's clearly doing well for himself, which contrasts him to Spike and Jet again. It's like, these guys are, even as bounty hunters go, not having a good time. They're not even at the top level of bounty hunting, which again is that idea of them being quite dysfunctional, even in a dysfunctional society, even in this society, in this room of blues fans. They can't function properly. They just can't do it.
You know, and we've talked about this before about these Jet and Spike and everybody are very competent, but they just can't catch a break. This episode starts with Spike failing a bounty, right? Like
Yep.
it's just like the bounty's not good if he isn't alive. You're not gonna get that one then, buddy. You're not gonna. He's not gonna. As soon as he says that, you're like, oh, Draft's dead. Draft's going to is totally going to die. This is, and he does, because Spike can't have nice things, or when he gets them, they don't last forever around him, and we see that with Julia. But you know, it's yeah. That's and I think that's why we love Spike because even if he is cool as ice, um, he never wins. And it's like, oh, you can look really good and cool and still fail. And there's almost like a solace to that. It's like, all right, cool. I can get
Bebop
that.
is a relatable show for all of its weirdnesses and ape viruses and non-dying kids. It's very relatable. I think to go back to Ballad of Fallen Angels, that conversation he has with the shop owner, I think when you reach a certain age, you've had that conversation with someone, and how they have that conversation is very natural. It's a lovely piece of dialogue writing because the temptation when you're writing that would be to have her explain the history and have her go, well, because the fact that when he says her name, and I think only two people can say that, there would be a temptation there to have her say the two people who can say the name to make sure the audience in row Z understand it, full panto it. But she doesn't because that's how someone would talk in that situation. It establishes that she and Spike have a relationship. Spike knows what she's talking about, and even how Spike reacts to the drink. If it's for him, I'll have it. It's so like I've had conversations with people in my life. There are moments where you're sharing something you both know, but you don't want to vocalize it fully because vocalizing it makes it real.
And it takes away from the moment too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful couple of episodes. I mean, step up. I'm a little more engaged, one, because I'm not recording this at 7 in the morning in Tokyo.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah. It's these two episodes are really where we start to kick into high gear. Still kind of surprised we don't have Radical Edward in our Bebop crew.
He
Yeah,
comes later than you think he does.
clearly. Yeah, it's like we're almost like so this is what episode 6. We've got 26 episodes total, which is the entirety of the first season of Beast Wars. Yeah.
Oh, I do want to point out one thing before we start. It is the entire season of Beast Wars. I do want to point out one thing though, is Faye eating the dog food. Really quick. We need to talk about this.
Well,
Yeah.
they're always hungry. That's the thing about Cowboy Bebop. They're always hungry because they can never afford decent groceries, right?
It it's just such a good moment. Like I love her doing this just to spite the dog.
I love how it's structured. It's a really good moment. Again, it's that idea of it starts as a joke, but then she does it, and it suddenly becomes quite sad.
Yeah.
It's like because it kind of hits you after. It's like, oh, she's not doing this to be a dick. She's doing this because that's her only option. It's but hey, most dog food is human safe, so you can eat
Is it really?
I mean,
Yeah.
it has to be because let's put it this way: if you're a family with a dog and you have a young child, the chance of them putting their hand in the dog's bowl and then licking their hand is high enough that basically every dog food brand is human safe.
Yeah. I did used to eat the guinea pig treats, so that
doesn't-
does answer that.
Just to clarify, it doesn't taste good, but it won't kill you.
Yeah, you can eat a milk bone, but it's not going to be the highlight of your day.
Yeah,
I will say, just the yogurt drop guinea pig treats are actually pretty tasty.
as a random aside, there is in my city a dog bakery that bakes dog treats sort of fresh. They're lovely, but they have this big sign in their store saying, "Our dog treats are human safe and can be eaten for human consumption. You will not like them
No.
because they taste awful to humans. But if your kid eats one, it's fine. But just it's so funny to me because they're like, yeah, they're disgusting, but dogs like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or us.
Yeah.
It's no worse than spam.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of things with spam.
That's fair. I was trying to think of a
It's the
good
texture.
universal meat product.
Yeah.
It's the texture. But what are our final thoughts for these amazing 2 episodes?
I mean, that's it. They're amazing. You got it. I mean,
End of episode.
again, I was really surprised we get Vicious this early. I didn't quite remember him because I had merged it. I thought he shows up around like episode 10 or 12. But yeah, I was happy to see him such as he is. And and yeah, it's I can't wait. We're off to the races now. Still no Radical Edward, but we're off to the races.
He's coming. Yeah, these are just good episodes. This is Bebop. They're all good episodes. I know that you could say, "Oh, you only need to watch the Vicious episodes," but if you watch that, you are disgusting. I dislike you because these episodes show that even when Bebop is doing its silly side one-offs, they are building that plot point, they are building that world, and they are setting up these characters, and you need that for the Vicious payoff. Vicious cannot exist without these moments of quiet. And yeah, and it's also just fun for me looking into how, again, we said last episode, the weird timing on these episodes for Adult Swim to be showing these kind of episodes around this era. You know, even Ballad of Fallen Angels, it is, you know, how violence begets violence, and how the system can drag people in. It's an interesting time to be showing that episode. So it's just a interesting package as an episode, interesting package just culturally.
It I have begun to recontextualize Cowboy Bebop in my brain because like I've always loved it. I've always known that it was culturally relevant. I do feel in my heart of hearts that Cowboy Bebop is kind of the equivalent of a beautiful sunset at noon. It's the kind of thing that is so beautiful and it's never going to happen again. And I every going deeper into it, it makes me question how we are trying, how this piece of lightning in a bottle has been tried to be recaptured in multiple ways. And in a way, I feel really bad for Watanabe because Lazarus was never going to live up to Cowboy Bebop. Like, and it wasn't doing, and it isn't, at least in my opinion, it's not doing enough different like Samurai Champloo or Space Dandy where it gets to stand on its own as much. So I have a lot of love for Cowboy Bebop. I do feel bad that this masterpiece is one of the earliest works that Watanabe has. But on that note, we have pulled into our final destination. That is right, it is time to disembark from Toonami Absolution. We want to thank you again for joining us and talking about the shows that made us us and the shows that made you you. Once again, we have been your hosts. My name is Alyx.
I'm Sam.
And I'm John.
And we'll see you next time.